Let's make my current quilt pattern that uses only a layer cake. Now I am using Ahoy Me Hearties by Janet Claire from Moda Fabrics. Now this is an older collection, but Janet Claire does come out with newer collections that have this same color palette and also same style. Now she's actually coming out one later this year if you want to get your hands on it as well. But anyways, let's get started. For each 42 count 10-inch square, you will cut two 2.5-inch by 10-inch strips and subcut them into two 2.5-inch by 5-inch rectangles per each strip, giving you a total of four 2.5-inch by 5-inch rectangles. Now you don't have to cut it exactly like how I am. I am just doing so to show you how we will be piecing our block together after all of our 42 layer cakes are cut. But once everything is cut, it is time to sew everything all back together. So first we're going to rotate all of the prints around just to mix everything up. Then we are going to sew our 2.5-inch by 5-inch rectangles together to form a 2.5-inch by 9.5-inch rectangle. Then with those rectangles, you're going to take them and place them either at the top or the bottom. It doesn't matter where, but both of them need to be in the same position. That way, when it comes time to trim everything off, it will make it so much easier. But once all of your blocks are sewn, it is time to square them up to a 8.5-inch square. Now those center seam allowances from our side rectangles, you want to line up a 4 1/4 marking from your ruler as the center. Then you can either finger press or iron a middle seam for a center line for that center larger rectangle and line up a 4 1/4 marking from your ruler from that center fold line just to make everything perfectly squared around all four sizes when you trim it up. Or you can just make it easier and take a 8.5-inch ruler and use the center marking lines on the ruler just to square everything up. Now this pattern is perfect for those 10-inch squares that weren't cut perfectly, or if you do not like the pinking edges, because this one will make it all disappear. But once all of your blocks are squared, it is time to lay everything out in a 6 by 7 block layout. Then you will place each block side by side and rotate every other block 90 degrees. Then you'll sew your blocks together to form rows, and then lastly, sew those rows together to complete your quilt top. And here is what my current quilt top looks like all finished. One 42 count layer cake will yield you a 48-inch by 56-inch quilt. Two layer cakes with a 8 by 10 block layout will yield you a 64-inch by 80-inch quilt, just to give you a few more options. And I'm going to be using this gray grunge fabric for the backing as it is the closest thing that I have currently. Then for the thread choice, I am going with Glide threads in the color Battleship. And here is what my quilt looks like all quilted. And I have quilted one of my newest edge-to-edge patterns called Beach Sunrise, which I will have linked down below in the description. Also, if you would like me to quilt your quilt, I have opened up my Longarm quilting services, and I will also have a link for the form down below in the description as well. And I do hope you have enjoyed today's tutorial. If you could please take a moment to hit that like and subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you can be notified for your next amazing quilt project.